This is still part of pass 1. So now I've done outline, I'm now going to go into shade. So I'm going to reduce the speed settings down to 6.5. You can work with anything, the voltage between 6 and 6.5. We're going to go in with a nice stretch as well, making sure my needle hasn't moved. And I want my whips to be not too close together, because I want to get like a nice sort of pixel effect. And if it's too close together, then it's not going to look nice and soft. It will most probably look more like a block, which we don't want. So you can go backwards and forwards in that section. So I don't want my whips to be too short. If they're too short, you're not going to get a nice pixel shading effect. Can you see here? And if you can see, like, all the whips, they all sort of end slightly in different lengths. This ensures that basically you're not going to get banding as well. I'm going to go back, so I'm going to go back here, start on the bottom outline. Just make sure you stay on that bottom outline a little bit. Now you want to work your way up to the top, making sure that your pressure does not change. Your grip stays nice and loose. The momentum has nice fluid momentum. What that means is you're not changing your speed, you're not changing your pressure. Everything just remains the same. And that's one thing that you should practice a lot on pads, is to listen and to make sure everything just stays the same. So as you can see, the whips are longer, they're not short, they are like a longer whip. And again, you just mostly want to have like a little gap in between, very small, but just so that you can see the pixels in the whips. So as you move up, don't make it too tight where it's all coloured in. You want to see a little bit of skin, just ever so slightly. As I work my way through, midway, I'm actually going to get a little bit more longer and wider. Can you see? You see that? So that's what you want to be achieving. Nice even pixels. I'm going to repeat myself going back down. We'll be putting some numbing on her soon. But you want to get as much, saturation as you can in the first round. So we want to leave a good finger width and a bit. So at the fronts, you want to achieve about 30%. And then 10% saturation. So what that means is you want a good finger width and a little bit to go light, very light, and then light. So the first section is going to be a longer width, okay? So I'm going to go right. You don't need to go all the way 50% back. 20% is fine just when you're doing this. I still want to keep it, I don't want to go too wide moving up, because otherwise you're not going to get enough in, and that's what a lot of students do wrong. They move up way too quickly and they make the whips way too wide. You end up getting nothing in. I'm going to go right to the top and then back down. Just going to reach the edge. I'm just going to go back over, but just bring it in just a little bit more further forward. Once you've sort of made that 10% right at the front, you don't want to keep going over it. So what that means is, let's say this has now reached the saturation, but you still haven't reached the saturation right at the front, which is only like 10%. You're going to keep making this area too dark. So make sure before moving backwards that the front has got the coverage it needs. We are going to let it oxidize a little bit. Now at the very front, it all depends how many layers, you know, and the effect that it takes with the skin. We don't want too much, but as you can see, that looks really nice and soft. So you've got a nice coverage coming on, just so that she's not in any discomfort. I'm just going to pop a little bit of secondary numbing just for 30 seconds. It may sting just for 10 seconds or so on the client, but then when we go back over, it'll be nice. Go over again. I'm going to start on the tail. What I tend to do is slow down just a little bit when I hit the edges on both sides, just so that you're getting optimum results and you're not getting gaps, because a lot of students tend to rush when they reach to the top, and then you've got a lot of blending in to do between the outline and the shading, which you don't want. So I'm keeping up that noise, I'm keeping out that I know that my depth hasn't changed. There's really, she's got a little bit of, just a little bit of spotting, but nothing major. As you can see, the pressure is perfect, the whips and everything is perfect because the pixels are coming out really nice. And that's on speed 6.5. If I wanted it even more pixelated, I could drop the speed down, but I'm all good for this. If you want to pack a lot more in, then you would have to most probably make your whips like tighter. As you can see, I'm fanning it out as well. You want to learn how to fan your whips out, especially as you come around the corner of the arch. With the pressure, what it feels like, it just feels like my needle is skimming on the top surface of the skin. It's not like I'm pressing, I'm not, you know, pressing hard or anything like that. I'm just allowing the machine really to do its thing, and then my hand is guiding it. So when I reach about 30%, 40% coverage in my first round, so I will go back to areas that I need. That way, when I come to my second round, I don't feel like there's absolutely loads to do. And as long as the client is not in pain, then that's great. Because we're giving her a softer shade method, what I want to make sure is that we're going to reach around about 70% saturation here, 50% in the middle, and then 30 and 10% working our way up to the front. So once I feel like we've reached sort of half of that, then I will move on to do the left brow. So as I go, I'm just going to add a little bit more numbing. So if you look at the action, it's a nice sort of medium, steady movement. I'm not going too fast, not going too slow. If you're too fast, you're not going to get enough ink in. If you're too slow, your pixels will be too close together with this type of machine speed. If you're somebody that works really slow with your whips, then you're going to have to move the machine speed down. So as long as they're matching. She's a little bit resistant in the body here, so I'm just going over this section, which is fine. You can go back to any area that needs covering, as long as you go back by 50%, that's no problem, it will blend. If you find you're not getting a full length swing, what tends to happen, what I see a lot of students do, is that as soon as they enter skin, they instantly whip and flick straight away. You need to make sure that your landing, and as you implant into skin, is quite long before flicking off and up out of the skin. You don't want to be going in and flicking immediately. You want to make sure that you're sort of keeping that needle longer in skin, and then you're flicking off and out. We're just going to do our ombre again. Now I'm going to come towards me. When I come towards me, I'm actually going to get more colour at the very fronts, which is what a lot of students feel more comfortable about as well. They don't really like to flick towards the nose. It's okay to do that every now and then, but I wouldn't always go towards yourself, just because you can pack too much from at the very fronts. So I'm just going to go, because where I want to build a little bit more 10%, I'm going to go towards me. Again, you want to keep it relatively the same as everywhere else when we're working with our whips. The only difference is at the front is that you most probably want to just be that tiny, I'm literally talking about a fraction faster, just a fraction. So if I'm unsure like where to stop, sometimes you can lose where you want to end, just ever so slightly. I'm just going to put my string back in. And then just reline where you want to stop. So I'm just ever so slightly lighter and just a little bit faster at the front. I'm just going to whip on the top edge towards me as well, just to blend and smooth out any edges. You can do that either towards you or away, it doesn't really matter, but just on the, around the lines, just around here. And I'm going to hit my needle just ever so slightly on the outer edge of the outline, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to get the blend with the two. And just go back in and whip, just on the inside to blend. You see on the outer edge of the outline, and I'm just doing little whips towards me. It's similar to when you're outlining, the only difference is you're just doing it a little bit more lighter, faster. And then just blend anything going through. Do the same in the bottom as well. Okay, so as you can see, it is oxidizing, and where I was at, we are going to have a lot more time to go over and smooth the edges out. I just want to make sure that I've got all underneath. So again, I'm just whipping towards me as I just have a little bit more control when I'm doing my outer edges. You just want to make sure, like, you're just hitting, as you can see, just the outer side of the outline. Because if you're hitting the inside of the outline, you're not doing anything apart from darkening it. You know, you've got to think that the skin has a lot of grooves and bumps and lumps. So at the end of the day, what you want to do is go on the outer edge of that outline, and then what that does, it smooths everything out and just makes it look really seamless between the shading and the edges. Okay, so I'm going to let it oxidize a little bit more now, because what I don't want it to do is I don't want to overdo it. But this gives me a good guide. I'm just going to go over any areas that I just think are a little bit uneven in patchiness. Again, with the fronts, I'm just going to make sure, I'm just going to go towards me again here, and then towards me on the top. I just want to make sure my top edges are, can you see, just like that? So it just encases them in a bit better. I'm not here to make an outline or anything, I just want to make sure that the tops are a little bit more defined, just a tad. Okay. Perfectionist me wants to really, you know, straighten this top line a little bit, but I'll do that in my round two. Okay, so now we have finished pass one. As you can see, it's got a nice even coverage. She has got a little bit of sensitivity, so the colour is looking just a little bit more warmer, but that's fine. I've now added a little bit of secondary numbing. A little trick that I sometimes do just to calm all the redness down, I am actually going to pop a little bit of after ink over the top. What that does, and leave it on for literally about 5 minutes, it just basically just restores the skin state back and just allows everything to settle and calm down. And then I'm going to go into my pass two, and I'm actually just going to stay on, I'm just going to stay on the same side, and I'm going to just do it again. Now, it's up to you whether you want to do round 1 and 2, and then numb, and then do round 1 and 2 on that side, and then perfect. So that's what I'm going to do.